So, hi, I'm Mary Lewis. I am an associate professor of social work and global studies here at A&T. This is my ninth year.
I'm Devaney Taylor, and I'm a graduate student in the adult education program. So, Dr. Lewis, I just wanted to ask you a few questions about your experience here as a faculty member and about the transfer students from community colleges.
Sure.
So, my first question is, do you feel that students who come to you with future plans for graduate school are less likely to succeed if they attend a community college?
No, I think that they're more likely to succeed.
Can you say why?
Yeah, because I think that there are situations that not for everybody, but for a large group of people, it's non-traditional and young people or people who may have immigrated here. They have some basic skills that community college can offer that we at the four-year level don't have the time and the opportunity to offer. And so when they have those basic skills, then they're slowly building that, and some people just need that opportunity, and I think that it really helps them a great deal. Community college is a little smaller than a four-year college too, so for some people it's easier to get from a smaller place and then build up to a bigger place.
Okay. That was a good answer. I didn't think about it that way. I would have thought that the students that had been in the four-year institutions, because typically the quote-unquote truth of it is professors at a university are more knowledge than professors at a community college, which is some things that we've read in our articles this past semester. And so they're saying that those students are getting a better education and are more prepared for the rigorousness of grad school versus students who did the 2 years at the community college and then come to the university and then have hopes of going to grad school. They're saying that those community college students are less prepared because their professors are less knowledgeable.
Well, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that. I mean, maybe they don't have because they don't require PhDs.
Okay.
But I'm talking about teaching skills, and sometimes I think that there's more resources, supportive resources for students in the community college than there are here.
I agree.
And so I think that extra support would add. So, then they got 2 years that they can, 2 to 3 years that they can be in their four-year college with PhDs, and sometimes PhD doesn't make you a good teacher.
I agree. So, do you feel that students with a community college background leave the program more often than students who attended a four-year university?
The transfer students that I have worked with, I'm trying to think back over the years. I don't think a single one left.
Wow.
And although in social work we really have worked very hard, and our retention is very high in the unit compared to the rest of the university. So we really work hard with students, and we do an extra step, a lot of extra step in advising and things like that. But there hasn't been anybody who came from community college that left.
That's interesting.
And
that
didn't,
you say that.
like we had people who were sick or had a birth baby, or things like that, and they would have taken time off, but then they came back. Some of them have then difficulties with financial aid because of transfer credits and stuff like that, but they end up coming back in different ways. So, I mean, it's not necessarily a nice flow. I mean, they have their own issues that come up, but
they tend to stay more so than the students who come straight from high school to the university. Right. And you're saying the community college students, the transfer students, tend to stay because they've already been in this atmosphere a little bit, so the program isn't as rigorous for them.
Yeah, they begin to understand what do I need to know, and what is expected of me to think about, and I can write a little bit better now. I learn how to write. And so much of what you do, at least in social work and global studies, is just self-reflective and really being able to write and express yourself verbally. So that becomes very important, and they've already had training in that.
Absolutely. Okay. In your experience, do community college students or transfer students tend to be more or less driven than the 4-year students coming straight from high school to the university?
More.
More driven.
Mm-hmm.
And is it because of what you just stated in
Yeah.
your last question, that they kind of already have an idea of what's
They
expected
would
of
have
them?
dropped out from community college. So these are the people that stuck. And so these are the people that are staying. These are the people that have learned what they need to learn in order to begin to be successful. And mostly they come with a higher GPA,
Makes sense.
because the ones that don't, we don't see, because they don't come. They drop out before, or they get their associates and they say, thank gosh, this is over. And that's the end.
So those ones that come over with the higher GPAs, they tend to do better in your classes versus your normal traditional university students that never went to community college.
Mm-hmm. Overall.
Overall.
Right.
Yeah.
There's always exceptions.
Absolutely.
There's always exceptions, and some people, but whether it comes from a community college or transfer, it's the same thing. So
Mhm.
it doesn't. They may have come from a 4-year school somewhere else, and they came here, or it may have been another one in another state. It may not have been the one here.
Okay. If a community college transfer student has been advised and tracked properly, do you expect them to form?
No, I'm not. Just keep going.
Do you expect them to perform at the same level as a 4-year student?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I expect that they're going to be able to do it. Sometimes there's some elements they don't have, and so then that's in part of advising. Or as an instructor, that's part of the ones you're going to help them try to grow and develop. But I mean, everybody grows and develops at different times in different ways. So some. Yeah, but yeah, they have the same expectations as someone, not as a newcomer, but as a person at the level that they're at. But you take into account that this is the first year, so it takes a while to get your feet on the ground and know and learn the culture of this school.
So do you, as far as advising goes, in your experience with your transfer students, once they get here, do you feel that they have been advised and prepared properly to come to the university, or?
Mostly, I mean, there are some things that they felt hasn't gone right, but there's certainly enough here that students feel that doesn't go right in terms of advising. So, yeah, and they're really willing to. I really appreciate the fact that the school's willing. A&T is willing to let us bring in more than just the basic courses.
Okay.
So,
That helps.
because the community college actually has some wonderful, for social work, has some wonderful programs that we don't have on addiction and family crisis and trauma, and we don't have that because I don't know why, but it would be great if we could, but we just don't have enough teachers.
Okay.
So to have classes. So I just think and give it to me. Good. Let's bring this stuff in.
Absolutely.
Let's fill up all of our electives with this stuff. This stuff is good stuff.
Absolutely. And then are you able to use those experiences that your community college transfer students have for those classes that we don't have, to kind of give your other students a little bit of knowledge about those classes? Are you able to use their experiences to do that?
Not directly.
Okay.
I haven't ever used that, but certainly I'll notice that there are, because for the courses I teach, I'll teach on trauma, I'll teach on loss and grief, I'll teach on addictions, things like that. That's all part of it. And the folks who have some background in it will tend to share more in class discussions.
Absolutely.
And then they might be a leader of a group, but because they've had that course and the others don't, and it's not like we just haven't had the opportunity to do that.
Okay. When you look at the community college transfer students versus the 4-year students, do the community college transfer students overall require more advising to be successful than the 4-year students, or you don't see a difference
In the beginning,
in the beginning?
because they have a lot of transfer credits, and so it takes a lot of time to go through and say, okay, this is equivalent to this and this is equivalent to this. The university does the basics, and then they send it off to your advisor in the school or the program the student's in. And they say to me as an advisor, okay, so you have to you look at, you know what your topic is, and you know what you can accept out of this.
Okay.
And there's a lot of pressure to put in from the school, because we have an agreement that if someone comes in with an associate, we should be, to the best of our ability, trying to get them out in an additional 2 years, because they have an associate, and then this is just a BSW, you know.
Yes.
So they should be able to get out in 2 years. Part of the difficulty is that with a licensable degree like social work or nursing, you know, you have an outside accreditation body, and so they're saying these are the courses that the student must take and must complete with a C or better, and for us you have to keep a 2.6. So so it's better than a C. You need to get some A's in there.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you have to do it in a certain order. You can't take C before you take A.
Right.
You have to do A, B, C,
Right.
and because it's a licensable degree. So in order to do that, it takes about 2.5 years, unless we put the whole 2 years of the beginning social work together, and they can take all 4 of those courses. So, but mostly that's what we were able to do, and mostly that works very well.
So outside of their advising as far as bringing their transfer credits in and looking at their classes, I know earlier you stated something about advising them beyond that and giving them more support and kind of going above and beyond your duties to help them matriculate through the program successfully. Do they tend to need more help in those areas as far as their outside life and anything outside of academics versus your 4-year students?
No, once they're here and we get that time-consuming credit thing done, and we get it through all the hoops within the system that you got to get it through, they're like other students.
They just need the normal advising that everybody else gets. Okay.
But everybody, no one is similar.
Right.
Every person I have is different. So, you know, some people will sit here and talk oodles with me, and I'm like trying to get them out because I got another appointment. And so they want to share a whole bunch of things, and they come for all sorts of different reasons. But other students
But the stigma that community
can hardly sit in the chair long enough, they can't get rid of me fast enough.
So the stigma that community college transfer students needing more assistance and support at a university, you would disagree with.
Well, right, because they've already got it. They got, if they were able to take those basics, they got it. And if they're successful in school and they are now transferring, and you got to transfer with at least a C into A&T, and they don't accept D's, so those courses are gone. You know, so in order for them to do that and be successful at that, they have to have learned something, and so they're coming prepared.
Getting down to the last few questions.
Yeah.
Does a community college transfer student receive the same level of inherent respect extended to a 4-year university student at program end?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think by the end you don't even remember who was a transfer student and who wasn't.
Okay.
You know, I mean, yeah, I will when I do graduation clearance, because I look at all and I say, holy mackerel, that's right, you were a transfer student and you have 20 credits. I have to go and do the whole substitution map so to clear you for graduation. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a half an hour little baby job instead of a 10-minute one.
But without looking at that, you
I
see
just-
all your students the same across the board. It doesn't make a big difference that they transferred in.
I don't, and maybe it's just I'm not observant enough, but no, I don't.
Do community college transfer students display an affinity for campus activities such as SGA or homecoming events, or do they routinely ignore them in order to focus on their actual education? Because the stigma behind that is most students come from high school to university to get the fellowship, so to speak, part of the university versus the community college students who are mainly, in most studies, they're focused solely on the education and academic part of it, not so much the extracurricular activities.
I would say rather than transfer students, you have traditional and non-traditional students, and I would say that that's more the breakdown of that than it is for transfer students. Now, because I think the non-traditional students are much more focused, and their activities and parties and friends are back home, you know, and they have families and they're working. I mean, still, the traditional students can be doing the same thing, but they're still in their adolescence and their early adulthood, and they're still doing what they're doing, and the brain doesn't really develop till around 25. So, on average, so a traditional student is more usually engrossed in their work, more than a transfer per se as a transfer.
Okay.
That's my experience.
For my last question for you, as a parent who has every intention of seeing your child graduate from university with a degree someday, would you be comfortable with them securing their first 2 years of higher education at a community college?
Yeah, my youngest did that.
Okay. Was there a reason why?
Yeah, he hated school. He hated, he was probably my brightest kid. He absolutely hated school. He hated it. So he went to community college and for 1 year, and then dropped out, and then made pizza. And then they were going to give him a store, and he said, I don't want to make pizza for my life, and so he finally went back to school. But he was 20-some years old, like 24 or 5, and he said, the one thing I want to do is live in a dorm. So he, at 24, 25, we lived in a dorm at the school for 1 semester when he said he was too harassed by the kids to go out and buy him beer. So, you know, then he had his own apartment. But, but he continued to think that the community college was a good help for him.
That's awesome. Is it because of the support that you mentioned earlier that you feel they have more of that versus the university? That he might have felt that way?
No, he didn't do well in community college.
Mm-hmm.
He still hated it. But he needed time. He needed time to develop and grow. And he has a learning disability, and they thought he was hyperactive. I just thought he was an active, healthy kid. So, you know.
Yeah.
But by the time he got a certain age, things started. So I think, personally, I think it would be great if we give our kids a couple years, 3 years gap year.
Yeah.
And that not be, you know, that they can work and do volunteer work.
Absolutely.
You know, because sometimes I don't think they're quite ready.
So, I guess.
So no, I don't notice any difference between community college students on that or compared to 4 years. It would be the non-traditional, traditional.
And from the first question, you said you think they're more likely to be successful or and going to graduate school. So you would recommend a student doing the community college experience first and then coming to the university?
Would I recommend it?
Yeah.
I'd recommend it. Yeah. If they had, it depends. I mean, it depends on where they are in terms of their excitement about going to school.
Uh-huh.
If they had some difficulties and they came here, they're not going to get the same support. It's just not. We have tutors, but there's too much else going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to get the same as they're going to get if they go to community college. So, and if they're not sure that this is really what they want to do, but they know that society says that they should do it, well, then it's cheaper to go and give it a try at community college than it is at a 4-year college, and then you got all that debt to pay back.
I was waiting on you to say that.
Yep. All the debt to pay back. So
I definitely want to thank you for taking
Okay.
the time to interview
Good.
with me.
nice questions.
Didn't have any struggles coming from high school, and I came straight here. But
Yes.
as you mentioned, social work department is excellent in being supportive. Because once I got here, then I got a child and became a mother and had a family and all these other things. So you guys did excellent, and I thank you so much for
Well,
helping us.
Good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good
Okay. Oh heck.
one.
Okay.
Thank you.